Normally, normally when I talk about the news, it is the big overarching headlines, not just politics, there's culture in there as well. There's world events, but there's a story that continues to percolate we haven't talked a lot about. And given the news of the day, I think it's worth talking about fairly in depth with you. And that story is GPT-4 and AI systems. This is from Reuters. Elon Musk and a group of artificial intelligence experts and industry executives are calling for a 6-month pause in training of systems more powerful than GPT-4, they said in an open letter citing potential risks to society and humanity. The letter, issued by the nonprofit Future of Life Institute and signed by more than 1,000 people, including Musk, Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak, and Stability AI CEO Imad Mostak, call for a pause on advanced AI development until shared safety protocols for such designs were developed, implemented, and audited by independent experts. Well, of course, that's probably not going to happen. Now, if you're not familiar with it, there is something called OpenAI. And OpenAI is a responsive AI system that can answer your questions and do things in writing for you. So, for example, I'm going to do one. I've got the system open. Write a 5-verse poem about the 2024 presidential election. I'm misspelling the word election to see if it still gets it. Write a 5-verse poem about the 2024 presidential election, misspelled. Go. It is processing. It is processing. And here it goes. It's beginning to write. In the year 2024, the nation was ablaze with political fervor and electoral haze. Candidates vying for the nation's trust, hoping to lead and do what they must. The air was thick with campaign ads, promises made and platforms had. Debates heated, opinions clash as voters made their final dash. The economy was front and center stage, jobs and growth, minimum wage, taxes, trade, and foreign ties all became a part of the prize. Issues of climate change and health, education, immigration, and wealth were all discussed in great detail as each candidate sought to prevail. And when the votes were finally tallied and the nation's voice was finally rallied, a new president took the oath and set about to guide the nation's growth. Pretty impressive. This is a computer generating a 5-verse poem about the 2024 presidential election. You can understand why some people are a little bit scared of it. You could suspect possibly a human wrote that. Explain to me in 200 words how a plane lifts off from the ground. An airplane lifts off from the ground by generating enough lift to overcome the force of gravity. The lift is generated by the wings, which are specifically designed to produce lift when air flows over them. As the plane moves forward on the runway, the wings create a low-pressure area above them and a high-pressure area below them. This pressure difference creates an upward force, which we call lift. The faster the plane moves, the more lift is generated. Once the lift generated by the wings is greater than the weight of the plane can take off. To generate lift, the shape of the wing is crucial. The top surface of the wings is curved, while the bottom surface is mostly flat. This shape causes the air to move faster over the top surface than the bottom surface, resulting in lower pressure above the wing and higher pressure below the wing. This creates the lift force that helps the plane get off the ground. Additionally, the angle of the wings relative to the direction of the airflow, known as the angle of attack, is important. The angle of attack determines how much lift is generated, and it must be adjusted throughout the flight to maintain a balance of lift and drag to keep the plane in the air. Overall, the combination of wing shape, speed, and angle of attack are what allows an airplane to generate enough lift to overcome the force of gravity to take off from the ground. So, what does all of this mean? People are scared of this technology. Some are scared of this technology because it could put a lot of people out of work. Why do you need to have someone to curate an encyclopedia when this chat can do it for itself? Concurrently, while people are calling for a suspension in development, this is a headline from Bloomberg News today. $335,000 pay for AI whisperer jobs appear in red-hot markets. Everyone's talking about the artificial intelligence behind ChatGPT. Less noticed is a jobs market mushrooming around the technology, where these newly created roles can pay upwards of $335,000 a year. And for many, a computer engineering degree is optional. They're called prompt engineers, people who spend their day coaxing the AI to produce better results and help companies train their workforce to harness the tools. Over a dozen artificial intelligence language systems called large language models, or LLMs, are being created by companies like Google's parent company Alphabet, OpenAI, and Meta Platforms. The technology has moved rapidly from experiments to practical use, with firms like Microsoft integrating ChatGPT into its Bing search engine and GitHub software development tools. There's also the visual AI generators where you can put in a picture. I did one the other day, said, draw a picture of George Washington riding a dinosaur firing guns. And doggone it, if it didn't generate a picture of George Washington riding a Tyrannosaurus Rex with a harness firing guns in the air, Washington, not the dinosaur, firing the guns. It did. You can do these things. You could do photorealistic pictures. A guy high on mushrooms did a picture of Pope Francis in a big puffy jacket looking like Drake the Rapper or somebody, in a big puffy jacket with a giant gold cross chain, and people fell for it. They thought it was a real picture. It wasn't. It was artificially created. You see why people are skeptical of this. But there is also a common strain. It is one that has largely gone unnoticed. It is this. Many of the people who are most concerned about the potential for abuse of AI, including Elon Musk, are also the people who are convinced that we will one day create the technology that enslaves us. And they have something else in common. They are atheists. There's no role for the sovereignty of God in a group of people who are atheists who believe that we are our own masters, commanders, and creators. And therefore they believe that we were created by accident, we can accidentally create that which then eliminates us. I don't want to downplay the fear of what could come from AI, but if you go back in history, there was a great deal of fear about the development of the automobile. And it wasn't even jobs related. Blacksmiths were not afraid that the car was going to put them out of business. But it did. But a lot of people were concerned about it. They were concerned about the speed. In fact, there were a lot of people in the early days of the automobile who were deeply concerned that the automobile could move so fast it could kill people, not by running them over, but by killing them by propelling them forward so quickly. In the early days of the automobile, you had 5-mile-per-hour speed limits because they were deathly afraid that if you went too fast, you could die. And not from a sudden stop, just the speed of it. People were scared of the automobile. There is a story, historians dispute whether it's true or not. Some claim it is true, that the French wore wooden shoes called sabots. And at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, workers became paranoid they would never work again. They would be able to find no new jobs as these machines were replacing them. And so they would shove their wooden shoes into the gears of the machines to smash the machines so they instead could work. And we call that sabotage. I learned that story in full disclosure from Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country, but it turns out it's a true story. Nonetheless, There's a great fear about this technology out there, this unharnessed technology. But so much of the fear. Can you imagine if at the horizon of the Industrial Revolution and the invention of the automobile, people said, these cars, we're not going to go try to kill ourselves by going 25 miles an hour and having our bodies explode. We're just not going to build them. We should put a pause on this and not develop the automobile. Can you imagine if we decided we don't want to go to the moon? Do you know when they actually flew to the moon, you can read the records yourself. There was a real concern of what if it was actually a ball of dust and they tried to land and couldn't land? Nobody thought it was cheese, but what if it was something else? What if it was like quicksand? Could we actually do that? What if they gave up? Every tool that is invented, including, as we know in the last 48 hours, the gun, can be used for terrible things. There's already proof cases of the deep fake videos being used for revenge pornography, producing violently pornographic clips of individuals that appear to be real as a way to get revenge. AI is going to be abused, but you can't put the genie back in the bottle. It's going to be abused, but it could also probably save lives. I am deeply concerned about kids using GPT to cheat. There's already memes developing of showing people dying because their doctor cheated through medical school using these AI interfaces. It's a real concern. These are legitimate issues to be worried about, but putting a pause on it now by the very same people who think that our robot overlords are going to be created to enslave us. One of the very first stories outside the Garden of Eden after the flood is the story of the Tower of Babel. The people decided that they themselves were the gods and they could build a tower into heaven, and God confused them all and broke up the languages and spread them across the earth. I just look at the world differently because I do believe in the sovereignty of an actual creator, and we are not. And we, in the history of humanity, get ourselves into holes and trouble when we forget that we are not in charge. We are maybe stewards of something, but at the end of the day, we're not the creators. We are the created. And if we keep that perspective and humble ourselves, it's interesting to me when you read the list of people from Elon Musk to others. These are some of the most arrogant people on the planet who are scared of this technology. Maybe they're scared of themselves and what they might do with it. There's no reason for us to hit the brakes on this technology. We're not going to be able to hit the brakes on this technology. This technology is going to be deployed, and we should probably do a better job, not of pausing the technology, but of growing our ability to discern what is and is not true, because it's ultimately on us and we're not going to stop it. But we should not let fear be the generator of this advance in technology, because that tends to be when things go off the rails. My buddy Matt just texted me, said actually what it was is they were afraid with the advent of the automobile that if you exceeded 30 miles an hour, your blood would boil. And yet, here we are. Thus it will be with artificial intelligence. There's no reason for us to be irresponsible with it, but there's also no reason for us to be so scared of it we can't figure out a way forward, because the genie is already out of the bottle. The horse has left the gate. Someone is going to use it for nefarious purposes, but I suspect it could be used for a great many good purposes too, if we stopped being scared and just went forward with a little bit of humility. That's the part that frightens me. I don't know that people are very much capable of using humility these days, and that's what they need to do.